One of the most common uses of either cookies or session variables is to create shopping carts, to store and remember what a person is trying to purchase on your website. This is an example of a simple PHP shopping cart that uses session variables to store the names of the products, the sizes of the products you've purchased, and the quantity of products you've purchased. There's really two different versions of the cart. The first cart is the type of cart you would show on your shopping cart page. It allows somebody to update the cart, clear the cart, or if they click a button, they're taken to a checkout page, which allows them to enter their address and billing information. And this version of the cart does not allow you to change the quantities, and it shows your shipping cost and your overall total. So those are the two different versions of the cart I'm going to show you how to create today. So on the first page, your shopping cart page, it just starts you out with a very basic web page. So you have a simple form named cart form. Method is post. In here we're going to actually want to call something, and I have two different functions that I'm going to want to call to start out with. The first one is when this page is opened, I want to add to cart. So if somebody's posting data to this shopping cart page, I want to add it to the cart. So I'll just call that function. The second function would be write cart. Since I have multiple different versions of my cart, I'm actually going to pass this cart a variable. In this case, I'm going to use a -1. And this variable will just tell it whether or not it's showing me the version of the cart with the buttons or the version of the cart with the totals. So now I'm going to create my odcart.php page. So actually I've already included it at the top of this page. I'm going to include odcart.php. So that's this file. I included it at the very tippy top of my page because I actually want to start my session, and you always want to start your session at the first thing you do when you're setting up a web page. So I just put that at the top of the page. Every page I'm including my cart code, I included at the top of the page. So the first function I want to create is really an add to cart function. So it's going to go be a function add to cart. And don't forget my closing curly brace. I always like to match my curly braces when I'm integrating my initial function. And the first thing I want to do is, the way I want to store my cart data is in arrays. I can create an array, and I can store multiple different arrays in my session variable. So the arrays I want to create would be something like this. So this would say, okay, I want to create a session variable named prod for product, and I want it to be an array. I'm going to create several of these session variables. So I'm going to create a session variable size, color, price, and quantity. So those are the session variables I'm going to create. Now, I don't want to create new session variables every time I go in and add to cart, because then I will be overwriting my existing session variables. So I really only want to create new arrays if I'm coming to my shopping cart and I haven't already don't already have data in my cart. So in other words, the first time I come to my shopping cart, I want to create arrays. Every other time I'm going to want to actually use the existing arrays. So the way I will do that is I'm going to use the empty. So it's going to look at this first array, and if that's empty, that means I don't have any data in my cart yet. So if it's empty, I'm going to have my open curly brace. I'm going to create my arrays. Otherwise, I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to add items to my arrays. Now, the first way I'm going to add an item to my arrays is I'm going to use the push method of the array object. So this is an example of how I can use the push method to take the posted variable name from my product details page where I've clicked the button to add to the cart. I'm going to get the name out of that page and I'm going to write it to my session array products. I'm also going to get my quantity, which is also in a text box, and I'm going to write that to the array quantity. Now technically that's probably enough information. I know the name of my product, I know the quantity, but given that my product has size, color, and price, I need to know which size, what color, and if you might have products with different prices, what price. So the way I set that up in my original web page is if I go to my products page and I choose a product, actually I'm already viewing source over here, and I view source. So here's my name, which is the name of my product. Here is my radio button. This is one of my radio buttons. I'm actually looking at my Parka when this view source. Input type is radio. If I go like this and I scoot it over so you can see it, this radio button has a name of item and its value. I put all three values into one form element. So I gave it the size separated by the straight up and down pipe symbol, the color, and the price all in one element. So once I do that, then I need to take those three items out and store them separately in my so I can display them in separate columns in my shopping cart. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to use the explode method. The explode method is something that comes with the as a string method, and I'll do details. I'll go explode. I'm going to explode on that pipe symbol because that's what I've got between each one of my product details, and I'm going to get the posted item because that was the name of my radio button. Once I explode it, then I have an array called details. Each array element then would have a different attribute of the product I am adding to my cart. So if I go like this, I'm going to push then details 0 onto my size array. I'm going to push details 1 onto my color array, and I'm going to push details 2 onto my price array. So this is really all I need to do to add to my cart. Once I've created this particular function, I will have the items in my cart. They'll be all separated out. Each row in my shopping cart would be a separate item in my each of my arrays. So this is product prod 0, and this is prod 1 in my items array. So next I'm going to show you then how to write out what this cart will look like.